Hello everyone, this is Black7 here. Today we will be covering another Pokemon of the week or Draft League analysis, as we are discussing Jirachi and how viable it is in the Draft League. So let's get started into this video. So for start out, we'll start with its typing, Steel Psychic, which probably is one of my favorite typings in like Pokemon ever. Because look at all this, like the typing, look at all the resistances you have, like you're resistant to normal, flying, rock, fairy, dragon, ice, rock, steel, grass, and psychic. So you're resistant to like a very popular chord, steel, dragon, fairy, and you're also immune to poison as well. So you're only weak to ground, ghost, fire, and dark moves, which ghost and dark gained in back in Gen 6, and since those were like actually neutral, so all resisted for at some point. So, but because of its psychic, part psychic type, so. But then again, like, Steel Psychic was back then was a really fantastic typing, so yeah. Um, Nonetheless, this Pokemon still has a great amount of resistances and as well as an immunity to poison, which is really useful since in League you'll be seeing a lot of toxic and toxic spikes in battle. So for its base stats and ability, Jirachi is Jirachi is a mythical event Pokemon or whatever the hell you want to call it. It has 100 straight across the board, so it does have a really good defensive value, having 100 HP and defenses as well as speed. Its offensive stats are above average or subpar, but it gets the job done. So it can be physical or special, as you'll see. Its ability, Serene Grace, is kind of interesting because, or annoying for those of you who know. So it doubles the chance of effects. So let's say something like Iron Head, which is 30% chance, is now a 60% chance to flinch, which can be very, very detrimental at times. Or Sin Headbutt, or from like 20% to 40%, or Ice Punch from like 10% to now a 20% chance to freeze. So yeah, as you'll see in the sets we'll cover, so you might find this Jirachi very annoying, as I think many I've seen throughout all the singles plays. So yeah. So why draft Jirachi in general? So the thing about Jirachi is, as I mentioned, it has a really great typing with Steel Psychic, and has a wide range of options, and ranging from defensive sets, utility, support, even offensive options as well. Despite maybe like the 100 lackluster 100 like attack stats, but still, like having those like 100 across the board stats is really good enough to like allow yourself to build however you feel for any matchup. So having 100 across the board is really nice, since you can just say, oh, I can just build a defensive wall, I could build, you can say, a cleric, I could build like a CM set, I could build this rocks or a rocker set, or I could just build something that could just take on a certain mon or whatever. So just for the matchup and whatever. So yeah, and like I said, like its coverage options are exceptionally amazing, as well as the utilities. So it's pretty much very difficult to like kind of figure out what Jirachi set your opponent's gonna be bringing, or even you're gonna consider, or you're just gonna run like like moves like Serene Grace that take advantage of, or moves that take advantage of Serene Grace, like let's say Iron Head or Moonblast. So yeah. So like Iron Head has a 60% chance to flinch, and Moonblast has a 60% chance to drop the target's special attack. So, and it's really drafted within like it's often drafted within the first few rounds because like of how strong it is as a pixie in general. Like I think it's probably one of the better pixies out there. Like probably top 2 for sure, aside maybe a Mew. So it's just like the amount of versatility you can do with Jirachi is just amazing. In general, as you'll see with the move coverage that it gets. So don't be surprised you see this guy like go in the first or second round. If it's like anything below like second, I think it's a steal in my opinion. That's a pun. So for notable moves, you obviously know Iron Head to flinch stuff. You also have its namesake, Wish, which is actually really nice. Okay, well, I don't know with all these puns. Um, with Wish, you have 100 HP, so you're gonna be able to send fat wishes, or like, I would say like up to, I'd say, what's the exact number, like 202 HP like wishes to your opponent, or not to your opponent, but to your allied Pokemon as well. So it's gonna replenish them very fast. So you have rocks, you have U-turn, like all these utility options like toxic as well as thunder waves. I forgot to mention that one. Oh wait, I didn't mention the other one. So but yeah, you also have access to Calm Mind, which is really good with its typing because the fact that it can't get poisoned is really huge. So it doesn't get like, it doesn't have to fear that. So you have access to moves like Psychic, Flash Cannon, Sight Shock, just to take advantage of CM boost. You have Substitute if you want to like protect yourself from status, and also use Jirachi as like a bulky sort of sub attacker. You also have Moonblast, which actually got it in Gen 6 with the I think in a ton of Jirachi event. Like there's a bunch of Jirachi events from Tanabata. Like it's an event in Japan that they always host every year. So I think that's like TCPI's or the Pokemon companies, like, you know, they do that out of respect for the event. So. But that's a little history. So you also have other viable options like the Elemental Punches, Vein Punch, Meteor Mash, another event from Tanabata. I don't know if I'm probably butchering the name for the sake of that, so I'll probably stop saying it. So like. But yeah, good steal moves in general with Meteor Mash. You have Healing Wish just to recover someone else if you, at the cost of Jirachi's health HP, so it's a good cleric as well. Suicide cleric, if you say so. You also have Thunder Wave just to be more annoying. It did get nerfed this gen, but it could still pass or spread paralysis. You also have good coverage options like Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, also I forgot to mention Shadow Ball. And you have like Zen Headbutt, Heart Stamp, and Body Slam from like I think way back in Gen 3. You could also try Secret Power. I think it's like the same thing. It's just weaker. In case you don't have access to Gen 3 Jirachi if you're playing on Wi-Fi. So for coverage options or items, often you might see like a choice item for Jirachi like Scarf, Bags, or even like, I don't know if Band, people use Band. But then again, you're more likely gonna run into like more recovery-based items, since Jirachi wants to be as healthy as possible, like having, let's say, leftovers or like something like a 50% berry like Agua, Mago, or Ayapapa berry. So yeah, you might want to have like a super effective reducing berry as well. Colbur for dark type, Shuka for ground, Pisho. Oh wait, oh that's an error right there. Well, that's an error right there, so I believe that is... I forgot to delete that, so I do apologize. So, Hesiv for ghost types, and Naka for like fire types as well. So, for other items, you might want to consider Air Balloon just to be immune to ground moves for a while. Weakness Policy in case you feel like you're gonna get hit by one of those moves. Like Clay if you want to have access, if you want to utilize the dual screens, and some offensive item like Life Orb or Extra Belt. You can also try some Z moves like Psychenium Z, Helium Z, Barium Z, or Electrium Z, based off one of its attacks, like Psychic for Psychium Z, Doom Desire or Meteor Mash with Helium Z, Barium Z for like Moonblast or Play Rough, and Electrium Z for Thunderbolt. So it has good enough coverage to like stand against most of the teams, but again, like, it often lacks like offensive power as well. Yeah, it lacks a way to set up immediately, so yeah. So for the first set we'll be talking about are like pretty much sets you've probably seen in Sylveon. Well, one of them is ripped from it, so, or most of them are, but especially for the EVs. But you could just tailor it however you feel. It's just mostly just to showcase like how Jirachis are often built. So first sets you might see are Rock plus Wish. Like this set's pretty much a very support Jirachi set. Just set up rocks for the opponent, against the opponent. You just pivot around with U-turn and you wish up your mons if they're like not healthy, or if you want to heal Jirachi as well. You can also put moves like Thunder Wave, Toxic, just for status, and Fire Punch in case you want to hit like something like Seals. So yeah. Then you have the yellow magic set, which pretty much is the same thing. Only difference is that you're more offensive, and you just want to spam. You want to spam T-Wave and just Iron Hand flinch them. So until they're dead. So you could actually try between sub or like or rocks in case you really need rocks on the map for the matchup. So if not, then you could try substitute. Just keep iron heading and like, oh wait, you're just gonna maintain the sub the whole time. So yeah. You could also try a body slam over thunder wave in case you want to paralyze ground types as well. So yeah. Second set's pretty much are more utility based sets. So it's like Wish Pass. Wish Pass is pretty much like the same as the other one. It's just that it's more passive, but at least you're able to, with Protect, you're able to guarantee a wish off and just recover it. So, but the thing is, your opponent is more likely gonna punish the set. So you do have access to Toxic to rank up residual damage as well. So you can also try flinching your opponents with Iron Head just to rank up toxic damage that way. So yeah. So the other set is pretty much a sub-toxic set, which is very popular back in the day. So you just it's just more offensive in general. So this one's, I think its outspace is neutral base 80s and positive base 70s as well. So and you want to take advantage of subs against something that it can't break Jirachi's at all. Like let's say something that's using like I would say what do you call it? Substitute, no, Seismitas or Nightshade or something like that, similar. For like coverage options, Iron Head's really nice just to flinch down their opponents with Toxic. It's kind of like the pseudo like stalling in a way. So you could also have between Fire Punch or Ice Punch in case you want coverage. Fire Punch for like Seals and grass types, and Ice Punch for like dragons as well. So yeah, or grounds. Then you have the calm mindsets. I think I put these two separate just because of how different they function at times. So the first one is Wish plus CM, which pretty much is another cleric set. The only difference is that you don't have substitute, as I'll talk about the other one. But with this set, with the CM set, you are probably trying to set up as much calm minds as possible in order to attempt to sweep or break your opponent. And this is probably one of Jirachi's only ways of setting up or to become a bigger offensive threat in general. Like the difference that what helps Jirachi is that steel typing, because it is resistant to it's quite effective against psychic Pokemon in general. So Psyshock, Psyshake won't do jack shit, even if like you're boosted up. So so Moonblast also helps in this situation because with the event move, you do have a 60% chance to drop the opponent's special attack. So you could also set up on those mons or on certain special attacks and just go to town from there. So you could also run Psyshock, Psychic, however you feel. So and then you could also run like some coverage options like Flash Cannon, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Rider sets. So the thing is, with Wish, you're more likely to recover off the damage, but the subsets pretty much like trying to set up on something that they can't break you whatsoever, while you are immune to status options like Burn, Paralysis. So yeah. So for the fourth set, it's pretty much this choice item, whether it's choice specs or choice scarf. Often you might see choice scarf with a physical set, with Iron Head, Play Rough, Elemental Punches, like Fire Punch, Ice Punch, even Thunder Punch. Heart Swap, or not Heart Swap, but Heart Stamp and Zen Headbutt for like psychic coverage, and U-Turn, Trick, and Healing Wish, like for some kind of like support option for your team. So yeah, thing about Scarf Jirachi is that it can be very threatening, especially towards the end game. Once you outspeed everything, you could just potentially Iron Head, flinch spam to everything to death. If you're able to get them paralyzed, or you have the odds to just you just have the type advantage in general, like, oh, it's just a fairy type versus Jirachi, so just, and even if they do survive, there's a good chance they just get flinched. So yeah, and the odds are in your favor, so it's a 60% chance. So yeah, if you do have fairy coverage, like to play rough. So if you want to hit like a something like a Hydraken, you could just hit it hard as well. Arch Sam's also like it's weaker, but it's again like has the same flinch chances. It has the same flinch chance as well. The headbutt is stronger, but it could miss as well. So you could also run trick on either set, since you could just cripple something as well. So you just cripple like say a set, something that like you could cripple a wall or like mon in general. So yeah, like that's passive. So healing wish again to recover up damage or recover up a mod and blasting user like for like scout moves. So then you have Spec Jirachi, which is really nice because Spec Jirachi is like it's just more offensive than usual. People might not expect it at times. You might run Psychic Side Shock for coverage, Thunderbolt Flash Cannon for coverage as well. And lastly, you might even consider Doom Desire, Future Side, or Moonblast, depending on what you want. I do want to stress that Moonblast is, I think it's like you have to be shiny. So if you're shiny Jirachi, it'll indicate whether or not you have Moonblast or not. So you gotta keep in mind about this. So the fifth sets are offensive sets, which are pretty fun. This is the first one's like the Super Jirachi set from like way back from the other generations. Pretty much you make use of Jirachi's coverage options and just attempt to like sweep an opposing team or just break it with Iron Head, Icy Wind, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Ground, or Fire. Break steel types. You are using Life Orb, so you are gonna get worn down. So yeah. So just be careful about that. The other one is pretty funny. It's another CM set, but it's more so of a win con because you do have access to Iron Defense, so you could just raise your defenses and then like ensure that nothing can just break your Jirachi's defenses at all. And then you just beat them down with a Side Shock. This set would be really strong if it had stored power, so then your last options between Wish or Substitute, depending on what type of setup option you're going with. So yeah, the last set's pretty much fun. So you have a Doom Desire set with Steel MZ. So now what Doom Desire and Future Sight do is that they basically take 2 turns to set up or the damage, and then you just attack the next turn. But since Doom Desire is a Z move, it can be changed into a C's Doom Desire with Steel MZ. You have immediate access to like a very strong steel move to break, let's say, opposing fairy. So it's really nice to have that option. So you could also like run, let's say, CM or like a CM set if you want to use Doom Desire to break opposing teams. Like they won't like be able to like expect like the damage from it at all. So or they can't like prevent it or have you say so. You also try Future Sight with Z Future Sight as well. So last set's pretty much a sub boost set with the sub Meteor Mash. And the goal of that one is just to attempt to set up as many substitute or attack drop or increases as possible with Meteor Mash. Since Meteor Mash now has a boosted 40% chance to increase your special or not your special attack for your attack in general. So you do have some coverage like Drain Punch, Ice Punch, Fire Punch as well. So just to attempt to set up and recover some lost HP. So yeah. So pretty much how to use Jirachi. Think about when using Jirachi is that you kind of have to know what you want for the role for Jirachi. It's not one of those mons that you just like, oh, it's a one size that fits everything. You kind of have to know exactly what set you're gonna commit Jirachi to. Because otherwise, you're likely gonna wear it down. And that's another thing. Like this thing can't. Like, it has a lot of coverage options. You might be like, oh, I could hit everything for super effective, or whatever. So, however, like, the thing is, Jirachi lacks setup options aside, let's say, Calm Mind, or something like Meteor Mash or Pyro Punch. But even then, those moves they're still somewhat passive enough to where in which it's not going to threaten the opposing side, so more than likely you're gonna see Jirachi on a more supportive end, or use moves like, let's say, Calm Mind just to set up. So you probably want to have offensive capable Pokemon just to set up, or just to like pair with Jirachi, since Jirachi is most likely going to be doing the more like utility slash cleric roles of the team, whereas it can also finish off opposing teams with opposing mons with Iron Head. Don't get me wrong, it's just that you just don't want Jirachi to be that get worn down and get just chipped down to the point where like, oh, you just lost it. So, and that's another thing. So, like, that's another thing about, speaking of chip, like offensive instead of Jirachi is like they need chip, time, and good position just to boost their offensive stats. So, like you just can't just set up Jirachi and all of a sudden, oh, I'm gonna kill everything. You have to set up Rock, you have to set up Fox Spike, you gotta wear out your opponent down to the point where DM Jirachi could just go in and win, attempt to win as well. So, and even then, they're really CM is really passive as well. So, a strong physical attacker, like say Garchomp or Charizard X, if you're not behind a sub, can just kill you. So, another thing you want to notice is that don't be afraid. Don't go for flinch chance unless you feel like you need it, because if you do, like, yes, the odds are in your favor, but you still have a 40% chance to not flinch, which is still like, even though it's a skilled coin toss, it's still a chance that your opponent could just get out of that and just kill you off or just status you in general. So yeah, just go for the flinch chance when you know that it's like it's your win con. It's either your win con or like there's nothing your opponent can do, or it helps in your in like beating the opposing side. So yeah, and also last thing is don't be afraid to experiment with Jirachi sets and move pool. So just try to find a role or a niche for the team. So, but given the amount of support, coverage, and move sets, it's gonna find itself pretty easy to like splash on any team. So yeah. So for partners, you want to have like water types, fairy types, dragon types, especially the fairies and dragons to form steel dragon fairy cores, fightings, grass types as well, and fire type Pokemon. So for water type Pokemon, they threaten fire and ground types in general and form really good synergy or really good coverage with Jirachi, since Jirachi has access to Wish, and some of these bulky water types like Suicune and Gyarados and even Azumarill would appreciate having a Wish pass to it. So yeah, fairy type Pokemon, again, like they threaten dark type Pokemon, which scare Jirachi, so, and have really good offensive coverage with them. So they could also, some of these fairies like Florges, Sylveon, and Togekiss also have access to Wish and can like heal up Jirachi as well with Heal Bell. So not much to say there. So then you have dragon types, which are very nice to have, since they're either setup options or wall breakers and are very good offensive partners for Jirachi. And even Jirachi has access to Healing Wish to heal up these guys. So yeah. Same goes with fighting types, because you want to have a fast fighting type or even a bulky one in general that could just eat that could take opposing dark hits, and even some of them can take even like fire or ground moves respectively, like Infernape or Heracross here. They could just threaten opposing dark types really nicely. So, and the hits have high offensive stats in general, mostly attack at times. So yeah, grass type Pokemon are really nice to have, since they just wear down ground types. They just like ground types can't break them in general. So yeah, just try to get a good defensive grass just to help Jirachi, or something that's it could also be offensive as well, but try to find something that's more like defensive in general first. So then you have fire types, which can threaten opposing steel types, which, while not weak to Jirachi in general, like Jirachi doesn't really have a good way to break steel types aside Fire Punch or HP Ground or HP Fire. So like mons like Car X, Heatran, Entei, Bottom H, and Incineroar can help do that. So yeah. For other partners, you want to have dark types in general, because like dark types really appreciate Jirachi and being able to take on fairy type Pokemon, even like fighting types in general. So It's more so like Jirachi helping them, since it's also Steel Psychic type, so and as well as Ghost type. So yeah, like mons like Hydreigon, Mandibuzz, Mobile Muck, and Spiritomb and Crypt Duo, also Tyranitar. Like, so then you want to have flying Pokemon, because or levitate mons like Landorus, Zapdos, Whiskor, Rotom, and Flygon, since they take no residual damage, and often these guys have access to defog now, so they could just clear hazards. Jirachi is very weak to spikes as well, so then you want to have something like a fast revenge killer. Excuse me. Like to say Weavile, Zeraora, the Grand, Zydog, and Hornadus-T. So, that you want to have like Pokemon that could basically outspeed key threats that Jirachi can't, since it's base 100, and these mountains are at least base 110 plus. So yeah. Of course you gotta have hatch support as well. Having spikes, T-spikes, rocks. Like another Pokemon that can set up rocks is really nice for Jirachi as well, so it have to fulfill that role. So, especially like also having a defog option. So yeah. Then lastly, you want to have like setup or like wall breakers in general. Like wall breakers really appreciate Jirachi because they heal up. Because like Jirachi could be a good pivot to switch into. Like it could run slow U-turn and then get into a situation where like, oh, now these guys get a free switch in. So same goes with the setup sweepers, but for both of them, Jirachi can wear down the opposing team with Toxic status, with Thunder Wave, and then like maybe like wish these guys up to good health. So and even use Healing Wish if he has it. So, but yeah. So with setup sweepers, that's the same goes with setup sweepers, since these guys are typically gonna try to set up as much boost as possible to attempt to break or win the game. So yeah. So for checks and counters, you gotta be careful with Dark and Ghost, Ground, and Fire types in general, because those 4 types, especially Dark and Ghost types, because for Dark type Pokemon, they have access to Pursuit, so like if Jirachi tries to switch out, it pretty much means that it's gonna die. So yeah, or not die, but like it's gonna take extensive amount of damage. So yeah, especially that Pursuit like just doubles in jet power. It's also very weak to knockoff, so which can remove this item and deal heavy damage in general. So yeah, and even if it tries to attack, some of these guys like have Sucker Punch in general, so or just have status moves like Soloist or like have Intimidate. So like Weavile, Pidgeotto, like Scrafty, Lone Muck, and Spiritomb really counter Jirachi very hard. So then you have like offensive and defensive ghost types like Blacephalon, Gengar, Chandelure, Doublade, and Cofagrigus. So Blacephalon, Gengar, and Chandelure are really nightmares to deal with for Jirachi. So since they either outspeed or just threaten it out with its stab options. Doublade really can counter Jirachi because it has access to Shadow Sneak, and its good typing in general just allows it to wall it completely, and they're forced to run Shadow Ball. So Cofagrigus deserves a special mention because like it removes Shireen Grace from its ability. So yeah. Then you have like bulky ground types like Garchomp, Excadrill, Hippo, Biscore, and Steelix, since Jirachi can't break these guys or just outspeed them in general. So especially Excadrill and Sand and also Hippos, and these guys, like, even if you do have Ice Punch or like Grass Knot or Energy Ball, like they're just gonna take the hit, fire back off with an Earthquake. So yeah, and Fire type Pokemon are really threatening as well. Like Heatran is like pretty much Jirachi's #1 counter. So they can run HP Ground, but like that's a specific move slot, so it can't stop the other mons like from there. So Char-X can set up on Jirachi if it wants to, if it doesn't have any status options. And just sweep. Arcanine can just Intimidate spam and burn it. Same with Volcarona, if it with Flame Body, since with Flame Body you'll just burn Jirachi, so yeah. Then you have Incineroar, which actually just straight out counters it with its typing in general, so yeah. Then you have Steel types, which can beat Jirachi 1v1, but you gotta keep in mind that like most Jirachi sets can be very annoying to deal with, so for these guys, like whether it's CM, uh, like if they have Fire Punch. But that said, if they can scout for the moves, you scout for the movesets, then these guys can just either outright wall it or deal with it very nicely. So yeah. Same goes with water type Pokemon, like you scout for a grass or electric move. If it's not there, then these guys really do fairly good amount of works as well. So Volcanion is really good and Slowbro are good examples, as Greninja, Rotom, and Suicune. So then you want to have like either physical or special walls. Physical walls, I think you've already mentioned them a lot, like Scar, Zapdos, Porygon 2, Hippo, or like Mandibuzz, or anything that doesn't really have high defense stats. So since these guys have really high defense stats in general, or can take multiple hits, as well as they could also run the item Rocky Helmet if they please here, so to get some chip damage on Jirachi. Special walls, if they're running special PM sets, can actually deal with Jirachi very well, especially if they have access to Haze, like Milotic. Alolan Muck can just outright beat CM Jirachi with his typing as well as Bronzong and Metagross. So Mega Sableye is also really annoying for Jirachi as well. So, and lastly, I put Moltres, since Moltres can also like be built to pressure stall Jirachi. So yeah. Then you have like revenge killers and wall breakers. Like for wall breakers, Char Y, Hoopa U, Marowak, Alolan Marowak, Jirachi. I mean not Jirachi, but Manaphy and Victini could just either set up or just either set up on its face or just attack it and sweep. So especially Victini and Hoopa's case at Char Y, since they fed out threaten it. So then you have revenge killers like Weavile, which has Accident Pursuit. So it just has a 50-50 mind game right there, whether it takes a pursuit or knockoff. Then you have Bucephalon, which pretty much means Jirachi has to get out of there, otherwise this thing's gonna get a beast boost. Then you have Infernape, which is very scary, a scary mon in general, since it has a lot of speed and outspeeds it. Katana, if Jirachi doesn't have Fire Punch, Jirachi is pretty much screwed against Katana, as it has X knockoff. I can set up with Sword Stance on its face, so yeah, unless it has like Thunder Wave. Like this thing could potentially set up on Jirachi and sweep. Then lastly, of course, you have Dugtrio, which traps Jirachi, it just beats it. So it traps any Jirachi that don't have Shed Shell in the app. So then you have phasers and disruption options. Pokemon like Suicune, Heatran, and Politoed either have Roar, Whirlpool, Perish Trap, or they trap the Jirachi in, or like they attempt to beat it 1v1, especially just to get rid of it. Like their goal is either to get rid of Jirachi or just wear it down to the point where like it can't set up anymore. So yeah. Then you have mons like Mega Gallade and Lightperk. So Mega Gallade actually has, even for once, its ability Inner Focus can actually beat Jirachi, as well as has plenty of coverage options like Encore, Wisp, a Bulk Up, even Destiny Bond to like help like circumvent Jirachi to a degree. So, or even set up in general. So yeah, it also has access to knockout, so it'll just do and high attack stats. So it'll just with high speed, so it'll just immediately just kill Jirachi. Well, not kill, but like it'll do heavy damage to Jirachi. Then lastly, you have Lightbird, since Lightbird can just Thunder Wave a Jirachi, Encore it into CMs and just hit really hard with Foul Play. Version can also do this, but Lightbird's really better. It's far better since it has access to Encore in case it tries to do any shenanigans like CM. Then lastly, you want to have residual damage mons, or if you don't have a way to counter it, you could just use Rocky Helmet or status options just to wear it down. So Pokemon like Garchomp with Rocky Helmet can like just wear down Jirachi really fast. I forgot to mention this one other mon like Toxapex as well with Rocky Helmet can just really wall it. Feralthor, it can also set up spikes and just set up AT, Celesteela, Druddigon as well with Rocky Helmet, Rook Skin. Zapdos is a really interesting case since it has access to the ability Static. So Static is gonna wear down. If Jirachi gets static at one point in the game, it pretty much gets paralyzed, and it won't be able to flinch you down. So that's one way to Johto Jirachi. So yeah. So overall verdict about this Pokemon, it's probably one of the best like steel types and psychic type Pokemon around. Like probably one of the best steel types to draft in League. Especially because it has a plethora of roles and has wide coverage options and movesets to like make it almost difficult to prepare for at times. But the thing is, like, once you know the sets, have an idea what they're going for, for its roles, you can pretty much kind of prepare or beat it in general. So, or play around it against, I guess you could say. Like, but even then, you have so many options to run with Jirachi. Like, whether it be a cleric, a rocker, CM user, sub attacker, paraflinch, or scarper, or whatever. So it could just form. It also forms really good cores with Pokemon exceptionally well because of its typing. With Steel Psychic, you're able to get like Pokemon like fighting types, Steel or dragons, and fairy Pokemon, as well as like Dark types. So that alone can just build your team right there. Like with Jirachi, you could really like build around Jirachi exceptionally well to protect you. To either like protect around it or just build a solid team in general. So for draft league. The other thing that I would mention is that like Jirachi does suffer from like having a lack of offensive pressure, unlike other pixies like let's say Manaphy, Mew that have access to Tailglow, or Nasty Blotter, or Victini that has like immediate like stab, hyper offensive stats. Like the thing is with Jirachi is that its viability comes from having access to all these cleric support options, all these utility cleric support, and of course having Serene Grace in general. So like it just ends the wide pool and access to its wide move pool and rate of attacks, since there's like very few ways to like there's very like I would say like a well-played Jirachi can be very like detrimental to the opposing side, since like especially if you don't know what sets you're they're gonna have in general. So yeah, it is very passive at times. So even with CM, like they have to take turns to set up. So yeah, but even then, like you don't want to let Jirachi set up for free, because like with its typing, it's gonna be very difficult to break Jirachi if you don't have those 4 Pokemon to set Pokemon, especially if they're not physical. So yeah, but then again, like you'll have to take advantage of Jirachi's passiveness. So that's probably the best way to deal with it. So at times, it's extremely versatile. You can fill whatever role that your team needs, aside maybe like a D-Fire. But even then, like Jirachi can only do so much, unless it wants to flinch spam. So yeah. And overall, I would say it's pretty much a good Pokemon to draft, and it's really annoying to deal with, not just because of the Serene Grace, but because just trying to figure out what's its role or moveset. Well then again, like once you figure out what role Jirachi is doing for the team, then you're likely gonna have some sort of game plan around or against it. So you just have to figure out, okay, is this gonna be a cleric set, or is this gonna be a rocker, or like some kind of CM user? If so, then like have respective counters or respective measures for it, or checks in general. So just have ways to circumvent Jirachi, or try to fulfill Jirachi in your team like in a way in which it could provide support for the team, while it could distinguish itself in battle as well. So overall, I'll say it's a really good Pokemon draft. It's really much one of the better Steel types, probably up there with Celesteela and like as well. So as like the top like dogs for grabbing Steels. So yeah, they're like probably the best like Steel types up there. So yeah. So that'll be it for Jirachi. So that'll be all I'm gonna say about this Wish Pokemon. So tune in next time for another episode of this of Pokemon of the week or our draft league discussion. So I am considering doing now that BGC 19 rules. There's a little side disclaimer. So now that BGC 19 rules are out there, I am considering doing legendary guides for individual Pokemon, but once after this meta is settled in. So just keep an eye on that if you guys are interested in BGC. So yeah. But for now, But for now, I'm gonna keep doing these videos for a while. So yeah. So that's my guide for Jirachi. So, all right, see ya.